Chapter 6. M. Manu heard the screaming just as the purple sunset started to streak the thick clouds gathering overhead, and he felt the first droplets of rain. Mark had found him a decent walking stick, but he had still tried to limit how much he was moving his leg. It had continued to improve, but still hurt if he tried to put all his weight on it. The main concern of the trio had become water. Lu and Mark were both scouting the island to find some, but they had agreed to meet back here before nightfall. A pattering of gentle raindrops on leaves began around him as it started to drizzle over the island. Manu headed in the direction of the noise, and it soon became obvious that it was Mark screaming for help. As he approached the trees, the trees thinned, leading up to a clearing where he could just barely see Mark through the foliage. The clearing had a few piles of dirt, and Mark was laying near one of them. He was about to open his mouth to call out to him when a voice whispered urgently from nearby. "Manu, stop!" It was Lu, so close he had almost bumped into him, crouched at the bottom of one of the trees at the edge of the clearing. He was also covered in mud. "What?" "Shh!" Lu urgently shushed him, then whispered quietly, "Do not speak. Do not move until you hear all that I say." From the clearing, Mark was yelling and sobbing. "They got my leg! Guys, help me, please!" He continued to cry out as Lu spoke. "Manu, I saw what happened. Next to Mark is a tunnel. Mark decided to explore. I told him not to. Told him it was dangerous. He had barely gone inside when he tried to run out, and a giant bug, an ant, came out after him, faster than him. It cut off his leg with its mandible." Manu mouthed the word. "What?" Lu continued. "After it cut off his leg, it left him to climb up a tree. Then 2 more ants came out of the hole and moved towards the trees." Lu paused a moment. "Manu, these ants are bigger than Mark, and I think they are still here. They never made a single sound, and I did not see them return to the hole. I think they left Mark to lure us in." He paused. Manu started looking around everywhere, but in the fading light, there was no sign of any of the mentioned creatures. "Listen, Manu. I think ants navigate by smell, and I believe they can feel vibrations. Do not move. And as gently as you can, start covering yourself in mud to hide your scent." Manu started to press his large hand gently into the ground to pick up some mud, and started rubbing it across his hair and face. Lu continued. "I think they may be nocturnal, as they only appeared at sunset. If we try to help Mark, Manu, we will die. If we run, we will die. We must stay awake and not move until the sun rises. Hopefully, they will return to their tunnels. Grab my hand." Lu reached out his hand and Manu grabbed it. Lu immediately interlaced his fingers. "To stay awake, mentally count 30 seconds and then squeeze my hand. We both will count and squeeze. When one squeezes, the other squeezes back and count again. If you need to pee, do it without moving your legs. We will not speak again till the sun rises and we see the ants return to their hole." Then Manu started counting and squeezing and counting, while Mark continued sobbing, crying out, "Guys, I think they are gone. Please, come help me. It's safe." And Manu squeezed. "Help!" And Manu squeezed. "I'm gonna die, please!" And Manu squeezed. "Anyone, please!" Manu's legs started to burn, and Manu squeezed all night long. It felt like Manu was in an endless purgatory of burning, cramping leg pain accented by millions of endless squeezes. And he was tired, so tired. A few times during the night, he had stopped counting and started to drift off without even realizing it until Lu squeezed his hand, jolting him alert with a pang of fear. At some point, Mark had stopped crying out and only softly sobbed in the clearing. Then, even later, he had gone completely silent, and Manu thought he must have fallen asleep or died. The silence only made it harder to stay awake. Eventually, light slowly returned to the island. Manu looked around for signs of the ants, but saw none. In the better light, he could see the hole next to Mark. Maybe they already went back, he thought. And then he spotted movement. An ant was suddenly right in front of the tunnel. It was huge, like a human-sized black army ant. It was surprisingly fluid in its movement, antennae floating above its head, gently swaying back and forth. Where did it come from? Manu thought. It paused, seemed to look at Mark, and then went inside the tunnel. 2 more ants appeared just as suddenly, seemingly out of nowhere, and also went inside. Manu blinked his eyes a few times. How do they just appear like that? He thought. Manu, Lu whispered for the first time since the beginning of the night. It seems now that they did indeed leave Mark out as bait. If they are smart enough to do that, it is possible there may be still some ants hiding in wait. Say to be safe, we wait another few hours until the sun is highest overhead. Say, we squeeze 400 more times or remove. Squeeze now if agree. Manu squeezed and then continued counting. Eventually, Mark woke up. Manu knew because the yelling started again, though now it was a bit quieter and he sounded defeated. Guys, please, don't abandon me. I can level. I can fix my leg. Don't let me die. I don't want to die. Lu and Manu listened to Mark's desperate cries for hours. Manu thought about a lot of things while he waited, about what this island was. Was this just some freak uninhabited island with some ancient ant colony? How would they get off of it? He thought that it could just as easily have been him on the ground out there asking for help. He weighed the risk of ignoring Lu's words. If Mark had survived this long, perhaps they could bandage his amputated leg and keep him alive. Maybe the ants had really just left. Maybe they had no interest in eating humans. Didn't ants usually eat fungus and leaves? But if he moved, what if he attracted attention to this location and put Lu in danger? Damn it, he thought. He's just a kid. Manu didn't know much about ants, but he knew their colonies were huge, numbering in the hundreds, if not thousands. Maybe he could take one on, but he doubted it would ever be one-on-one. Eventually, he decided that he would not try to save Mark, and felt the shame of it. His battle soon became one against his dropping eyelids. Until squeeze 350 came, and suddenly there was another ant that appeared near Mark and started to approach him. This time Mark was awake and noticed it. Oh my God, they're still here! It's coming for me! Mark was crying and he sounded scared as his hoarse voice croaked the words. No, guys, if you can hear me, please tell my... Then the ant, almost surgically, pierced Mark's head with a pointed leg, and he went silent. The ant then dragged Mark's body back into the tunnel. As it did so, a second ant appeared and entered the tunnel. Manu almost jumped in surprise as a giant antennae was suddenly in view just a few feet from his face, and he noticed the black carapace climbing down the very tree him and Lu had been under all night. Manu's eyes went wide and he held his breath as it silently descended. It was so close he could see the individual little hairs poking out from its dark shell. Sweat started to drip down Manu's face into his nose and mouth, but he dared not move to wipe it. And then it was moving into the clearing and disappeared into the dirt mound. A few minutes after it had gone, Lu spoke again. "Okay, Manu. I say, 100 more squeezes, then we slowly move back towards the beach." Manu nodded. 100 leg-burning, knee-cramping, eyes-drooping squeezes later, he continued. "Manu, you will move first. Then I will count to 50 and move a different path so that if one of us is discovered, the other may live. Roll your feet heel to toe to minimize impact as much as possible. We will meet on the rock beach near where we first met. The vibrations of the waves and sand should mask our movement. Good luck." Manu felt Lu trying to steady him as he rose to his feet. His knees and legs fought against his position change, stiff and burning, but he slowly extended upwards, and then, after the numbness and tingling had faded from his legs, he turned to face the direction of the beach. He lifted up his foot carefully and then placed it down as though he was placing a precarious piece in a final round of Jenga. As his weight settled onto it, he waited and listened, but he knew it was pointless. He would never hear them coming. He waited a few moments. Still alive, he thought.